How you doing, folks? This is Rex down to Buckeyenest, and I'm going to do a little movie here and show you how you can build your own home computer. Took a trip out to a local computer store today, and we bought all the components needed to build what would be considered, on a scale of 1 to 10, about a 8 computer system here for you. It's got a quad-core high-end processor in it, 3.6 gigahertz, and all kinds of other neat bells and whistles, which I'm about to show you here. You need a lot of components when you're going to build a computer, and of course one of your main ones is your computer case. And this is the case that we went out and we got today at our local computer store. You can see it's got a whole lot of room inside for expansion. You can put a lot of different hard drives in this case here, DVD burners up here in the top, tape drives if you want to use that old technology. The case came with this 450 watt power supply, which is pretty good for what most people need it for. On the front of it, it's got a little bay here that you open up right there, and you can put you can plug in USB ports. There's USB ports there, and there's plugs for audio and microphone, and a FireWire port. Then this old panel up here, right here, is where you might put a 5.5-inch floppy drive, but we're not going to put one of those in this machine. It's outdated technology. Down here in the front, you can pull this cover off right here, this plastic cover, and put a big old fan in behind here for air circulation. And on the back, you can see it right here. You can do the same thing right here. So you can create a flow of air through your computer, which helps keep it cool, especially when you're running it in the summertime, and adds longevity to the hardware you're putting in it, the hard drives and the processor and the motherboard and all that other kind of stuff. And then of course this has got two side panels for it. In the back here you can pull this panel out and you mount your motherboard and things of that nature on there, and then you can put it back in the case. And the side panels are over here. One of the neat things about this particular machine and the side panels that come with it, let me get the screws out of it, is that if you see this part here, this plastic part here, when you put this side panel back on it fits down over top of the processor, and all that hot air that's coming off the processor is blowed right through the panel, through that little tube and out this side panel here. So what we might do just to help it a little bit is we might take this funnel off and add a filter in there, so it'll keep the air going through it clean, and it'll take all the dirt out of it too. So once again, I got to check and see if I got cover filters for that to do that. So then this is the other panel for the other side. Now what we can do with this is we can custom modify this, and what I would do is cut this panel out, put plexiglass in there, and maybe cut your name into the side of it and put your name in it, backlight it with maybe fluorescent light and paint your name in fluorescent paint, and do all kinds of neat modifications to this computer for you. Of course that's a custom build job, and we could even take and add switches to it, because the motherboard, as I get into talking about the motherboard, may have jumpers on it that you can change to do different things. And if that's the case, we may put some toggle switches or some push button switches in this to modify this case so you get the full capability of the computer that you're putting together. Your key component in a computer is the motherboard itself. And in this case, we're going to use a motherboard made by a company called Gigabyte. And it's a pretty nice motherboard. It's got all these humidity protection, electrostatic protection, power failure protection, high temperature protection. It'll handle all solid state capacitors, a dual BIOS, AM3 CPU ready. We bought an FX 4100 processor to go with it, and the fan, and that's what this is. So we're going to end up putting this on this motherboard, and then we're going to have a working computer to a point. It's got built-in ATI Radeon graphics, and it will also handle one high-end graphics processor in this slot here. So you could actually buy an add-in, what we call an add-in card, a graphics add-in card that will do better than that integrated graphics on this motherboard, and pump it up, and it'll work much better for you and perform much faster. This processor has a fan that came with it, and when I open up this motherboard, I'll show you here where this processor is going to go and how it's going to mount in it. But without these two pieces of equipment, you don't have a computer. Motherboard, processor, and there's a fan inside with that processor. We're going to set that down here. Then I'm going to show you another key element for putting together a computer, and that's memory. Now let me talk about this memory for a minute. This is 8 gigabytes of memory. The more memory that you put in a computer, the better that's going to run. Okay? So we're going to stick this in here, but this motherboard will handle up to 32 gigabytes of memory. There's a lot of talk on the internet and between technicians about how much memory do you really need in a computer. And a lot of people say that you don't need much more than 6 gigs, but I beg to differ with them. Okay? This motherboard will handle 32, and if you've got the money to put 32 gigs in it, put it in there. You will definitely notice a improvement in performance on this computer after we get it done. Now, you ask yourself, well, where do I put all my programs? Well, we got a brand new Hitachi 1 terabyte size hard drive here. Okay? We're going to put this in this computer, and for most people, you'll never need a bigger hard drive in your entire life. In my case, on this computer I'm making this movie on and going to store it on, I have a 1 terabyte size hard drive, and the computer's sitting over here to my right, which is your left and looking at me there. But I already got 640 gigabytes of that 1 terabyte used up. What is a terabyte? A terabyte is 1 trillion bits. Think of it like trying to shove 1 trillion ink pens into that little hard drive right there. Or you have $1 trillion. That's what a terabyte is, 1 trillion. A gigabyte is 1 billion. A megabyte is 1 million. A kilobyte is 1,000. And a byte is just one little piece of, one little character, like a letter A or a number or something like that. That's what a byte is, 1. So given all that information, this hard drive right here is a 1 terabyte hard drive, and think of it like this. I could put 1 billion of these ink pens inside this hard drive, and they would be stored in there forever and ever and ever. It is also a SATA drive. If you look at the connections right here, on the inside of it here, you'll see it's not the standard pin connections. It's got slots on it. That makes it a faster drive than your standard IDE drives. And right now they're making one type of a better drive. It's called a solid state drive. And you can also purchase those for your computer. And somebody just put a 1 terabyte solid state drive on the market, but because those things are so expensive, they had a price tag on it at over $1,000 just for the hard drive too. So you got that RAM, you got that hard drive, you've got the case, you got the power supply, you got the motherboard, you got the processor, and you're going to need a DVD burner. Well, we got this LG, which is Life's Good DVD burner. We're going to put that in there, but you can buy Blu-ray burners now that'll go into your computer, and they're combination Blu-ray, DVD, and CD drives, so you can get those too on the market. This particular one we got here was not very expensive. I think we paid $9 for it. So brand spanking new. Now the last thing you need to put together a computer after you put all the hardware together is you need what's called an operating system. We're going to put Windows 7 in this machine, but Windows 8 is on the market. But we're going to put Windows 7 in it because we got such a good price. And then if you come out and buy this machine from us, well, then you could buy an upgrade for Windows 8, which would only cost you about 69 bucks if you decided you wanted to do that. But this is Windows 7 Home Premium that we're going to put in here, and I think you'll enjoy this immensely. So I'm going to end it for now right here, take a short break, get organized, and I'll be back and we'll show you how we're going to put all this together. And if you want to give me a call in between breaks, you can call me at 216-266-0479. I'll be here most of the night putting this machine together. Okay, I'm back. I got my coffee started here, so I'll be here most of the night building this thing. Well, let's take a minute and talk about case preparation. Now, I already showed you this case, but I didn't show you all the little intricate things that goes with it. One of the things you're going to have to do when you get your case prepared is this panel right here you have to knock that panel out. And in this case, it was just a simple push on it. And the reason for it is all motherboards, that new one we just bought, come with their own input-output panels like this. It's because the configuration for the keyboards and the mouses and the different slots here could all be configured differently on that motherboard we got laying over here. And if it is, then we'll just take the panel out of the case that came with it and put it in this case right here, and then that motherboard will slide right in, and all these little holes and everything will pop up and fit perfectly. Another thing you want to do, if you look inside here, right here, they got the power cord and all the nuts, bolts, and screws all tied in here with a plastic tie. So you just take a pair of wire cutters and you cut that thing loose there, and you can pull those out, and you can strip out this thing here. You don't need that in there. And down here you'll notice at the bottom, these are the wires for your front panel USB ports and your speakers, your headphones, and your microphone and that kind of stuff. They're all wired in here, so you just take those cutters once again and you cut that line. Be very careful that you don't cut the wires themselves. And you cut that and you pull those things loose, and then you can separate those lines. And what it is here is these parts right here, they mount on your motherboard to control the switches on the front so you can turn it on and off properly. And these are USB ports and audio ports for the different things on the front of the computer. Then up here, connected to the power supply, you got another tie up here. This looks like it's a wire tie, like you get on your loaf of bread, and you just take and pull that thing loose. And then of course all these things here, they drop down, and this is your main power supply. It plugs into your motherboard, and these are different types of additional supplies for add-in video cards and things of that nature. And these are your PS2 connections, your standard connections for power supplies, and then these are your SATA connections, these black connections here, to plug into hard drives and motherboards and DVD burners, that kind of stuff. So now that we got all this pulled loose here, I'm going to take another short break, and I'll be right back.